Hey, I'm back. So, second day of work. Looking into accessible community housing. So, I've talked to some people to try to get some more information. A project manager in the industry who works on specifically creating more affordable housing, specifically community housing in Montreal. So one of the main things with the housing crisis is that a big part of it is simply just a supply and demand issue, where there's not enough supply of low cost, cheap housing or affordable housing. Because basically, if you increase the supply of low income housing, people will have a lot more options, which forces the rest of the market to adapt, to stay competitive. But now the question is really, how do we get that low income housing? There's a bunch of blockers to that happening. So yeah, we'll see what that is. So one of the main issues to low income housing being developed is that there's not a lot of incentives. It's not incentivized by the market, and it's not necessarily that incentivized by the government. So a lot of the burden is placed on NGOs and private citizens who want to create that housing. One thing about affordable housing is that it is considered to be any housing that the people who live there or who are buying, it costs them 30% or less of their income, which I'm realizing now is a decent definition, but kind of problematic because it's so relative, right? You could have rich people living in affordable housing as long as it's in less than 30% of their income, which doesn't necessarily well represent what truly affordable housing would be. So my plan now is to look into what's the current existing infrastructure or organizations that are working on creating affordable housing in Montreal, and to see what's limiting them. So one of the reasons that the housing crisis is such an issue is that a lot of people have to choose between either eating or paying rent or some other basic necessity. Average income hasn't been keeping up with the price increases of both rent and mortgages, which is one of the reasons it's such an issue. And like in Montreal, over 100 people have been left without a home because of this housing crisis. It's a pretty big issue. So yeah.